Welcome, everyone, to our interview series with Nature-Based School Founders. I am Megan Duncan, founder of Connected Kids Thrive, Positive Behaviors Guide for Nature School. And today we have Kristen Simonson with Sage Creek Nature School. Oh, sorry, Sage Creek Prairie School.
Mhm.
And I am so excited to dig into our conversation with Kristen today. As an audience, I want you to know you're going to get so much value out of this conversation, out of all of the interviews, no matter how you serve kiddos, whether you're a founder, an educator, a parent, you will find so much value here. And to give everyone a heads up, the questions that we'll be going over today are: what inspired Kristen to start her nature program in the first place? She's going to share a challenge and a recommendation, a challenge and a maybe a behavior shift that she overcome during her journey. She's going to give a recommendation of, something that's come to her through her journey that may have helped her get to where she is now a little bit faster. So great takeaways there. And then also a wish for our audience. So with that, Kristen, would you please, introduce yourself and we'll dig in.
Okay. Well, my name is Kristen Simonson. I'm from the southwest part of Saskatchewan. So I'm right in the midst of the grasslands, and we're lucky enough to live on 70 acres of fairly pristine native prairie. So I'm very excited. That has been a huge part of our program and will continue to be a huge part of our program. Very much interested in conservation and preservation of grasslands because they are one of the fastest disappearing ecosystems. So when we built our program, we absolutely did it with that in mind. I am forest school trained. I twice actually, which is kind of a funny story. I have the UK level 3 certification, which because Saskatchewan really didn't have a lot of opportunities to do forest school. And I didn't have a lot of opportunities to leave for a week and do the training somewhere different. So I actually took it through the UK and got my certification, and then realized that there were some fairly key things missing. So I took it again
Hmm.
a couple of years ago. I took the Canadian version. So I've got both, and they're both very different, which is good. I think they very much complement each other. Um, so our program is called the Sage Creek Prairie School. We decided not to do the forest school because the grasslands traditionally don't have forest. We do have little pockets of trees that are called coulees. I don't know if they're called that all over the country, but in Saskatchewan, that's what they're called. And so our program is based sort of in one of our pasture tree pockets. We don't share it with anyone else. It's a very private space. And so we're lucky enough. I know there's lots of people that don't have that, but we're lucky enough to have that all to ourselves. And that means we can kind of do whatever we think is necessary and appropriate. And our whole program is based there. Um, we are sort of a 10 months out of 12 months program.
Yeah.
We don't run all year. We're not running now. We take December and January off. The weather here is fairly extreme. And so because we don't have any like conifer forests and our shelter is a bit, as soon as the leaves are gone, we it becomes kind of a wind tunnel.
Mm.
And just find that it's really hard to try and plan for programs with little kids, especially. Um, just because the wind chill and there's usually a lot of snow and we just can't mitigate that very well. So we decided that we would take December and January and not do any programming and give ourselves a little bit of a break because we're pretty busy for the rest of the year. The other reason that we take a break is because we are a wildlife corridor. Our coulee is very often frequented by all sorts of things. So, like for example, in this last 5 days, we've had coyotes. lots of mule deer. We have had a moose and her twin calves spent the summer in our coulee, which was interesting. We've got foxes and weasels and all sorts of raptors, and it's just a lovely place. But we sort of feel that in the winter, especially, is hard on wildlife, and so they kind of need a spot to hunker down when it's not
Mhm.
that nice outside. And so we feel pretty okay with not being full year. So yeah, that's kind of I guess I know a lot of programs are sort of every day, all day. We don't do that. I'm a full-time teacher. I have been now for I think year 26 is where we are. So I do that during the day, and then this is kind of we found that in this particular spot, we work better as a an after-school weekend summer holiday kind of program, so it actually complements some of the schoolwork that kids are doing. And this year we're starting to work a little bit more with schools and providing that kind of education that schools have a tough time doing because of the number of kids in classrooms and getting them off campus, and I mean all those barriers that some education has. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. So you teach um, in a more public education setting, and then Sage Creek is more of an after-school program.
Right. I'm a high school science teacher,
Okay,
so
love it.
but I've also done outdoor education for just about the entire time I've been teaching.
Uh-huh.
I've now moved into an online school, because my outdoor education is now in a different setting. But
Mhm.
um, that was probably my inspiration for getting going in the first place, is because when I started 25 years ago, the opportunities that we had for outdoor education were overwhelming. I mean, we could do some really cool things, and we did. I mean, we had kids up to see the polar bears, we had kids out to see the salmon run, I mean, we did some really, really awesome experiences. And something we'll probably talk about sometime during this hour is the increased how we look at risk, and how we
Mm.
looked at risk in the 90s when I started teaching, and how we look at risk now is very different. I did find that it was really hard to get kids into those opportunities because there was always the threat of litigation, and there was it's too risky. What if a polar bear eats you, or what if you slip and fall? And it's like, well, yeah, that's part of it. I mean, not the polar bear eating students. I mean, obviously that's not what we would ever aspire, but I mean, the idea that we couldn't mitigate that risk is something that didn't sit very well with me. And honestly, that is, I think, Megan, that's one of your questions, is that, what inspired you to go this direction? And it's like, well, because I want kids to have those experiences. I want them to be able to be adventurous and push their limits, to do it safely and to learn how. And I was finding that with time, when I was in the public school setting, I was being limited more and more and more, and I didn't I didn't like it. I didn't like where it was going. I didn't like the impact it was having on students. And yeah, so I decided to do something about it.
I Polar bears, how cool. Would you say that um, parents and maybe new educators coming into this realm are more have more risk aversion now than they did in the 90s? Or what does that contrast look like?
I'm not sure. I think that I mean I would put myself in the older teacher category. I mean, I'm at the end of my teaching career, so I definitely seen a shift. But I think some of the nice things that are happening is some of these new teachers that are coming out have been exposed to some of these ideas in university, and what kind of role outdoor learning plays and how kids benefit from it. So I think they've had the exposure. I think maybe the issue comes when they get into the schools and go, oh yeah, it's a lot harder to make that happen than what we thought,
Hmm.
because there's all the red tape of, getting kids in and out of off campus,
Yeah.
of transportation, of having a multi-dimensional classroom full of a lot of kids that have different needs. And how do you balance all of those things? I mean, it becomes a lot easier to stay in than to go out,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes. Um, okay, yeah, I'm always curious about how, times have changed people over time. So
Mhm.
I wrote down another question to ask you. So some of the programs that I work with and have on this series, even they're full day programs, not just after school programs. And my question is, how do you, and this is really great because you're also teaching kiddos in a general setting too. So how do kiddos, what does it look like when they come after school into an after school type setting like yours? Because I guess where I'm going with this is I often don't recommend for families outside activities after school
Mhm.
because kiddos, for anyone following me, you've probably heard me say that whole 500 to 1,000 tendency thing. So kiddos are told what to do 500 to 1,000 times a day. And that's just during that core day. That's not including outside activities or extra therapies or all these other after school, after that 8 hour chunk. And so, I'm just curious, yeah, how does it look when kiddos come to a nature-based setting like yours? What's their energy like, and what does that rhythm look like?
Um, I yeah, we kind of thought the same thing, because I mean we are definitely not the normal forest school where we meet all day for 8 hours and then the kids go home. We found that we're in a smaller community. I mean, the city that I'm next to is only 15,000. So we're drawing from a very small population. And so we kind of had to have a look at what works and what doesn't. And this is something that would work. And we were worried about it because I mean, I think anybody that has had kids knows that when they come home from school, there are a couple hours there where it is, oof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, and I think it's now, I mean, I had my own kids. I think it's a little bit of frustration and a little bit of whelming, like just, you're right. I think they've been told all day how to act, how to behave, how to move, when not to move, what to say, what not to say. And we were kind of worried about it. So our littlest group, the four school, that's our 4 and 5 year olds. Um, in the spring, they'll come after school because there's enough daylight that we can make that work. And usually the general, they're excited.
Yeah.
They just want to move around. They want to play. We have to go for a bit of a walk. It's about a half a kilometer, maybe a little more than that, walk down to where our sort of our base. And you can just watch them almost shed the day. Like, I
Mm.
don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
their parents drop them off. The parents never come down with us. It's parent free. They drop their kids off and we go for this walk. And by the time we get down there in like 5 or 10 minutes, they have totally changed
Mm-hmm.
their whole, like it's an absolutely visible transformation.
Yeah.
And they play, and we always have a snack as part of our day, and they talk to us about their day and what they don't like, and and then they go and they find their things to do, because for school for us is actually child led. I mean, we've got lots of invitations for them to play, but
Mm-hmm.
they kind of find their own thing, and I think maybe that whatever they were missing that day, they find it.
Yeah.
And when they go home, they're just the happiest little people. And it never changes. Like that is, I mean, like this is year 6 for us, and I don't think we've ever had something look different than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really remarkable. Like I wish that people could see it. But I mean,
It,
Yeah.
it's kind of the magical secret that we're trying to spread in this
Yeah.
series, you know. So it sounds like what the kiddos are thriving and why they're thriving is the freedom. You have some invitations there, but it's not a whole bunch of demands. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this. It's free. And that's what they're shedding is all the demands for the day. And they finally get to enter into nature and into choice. They finally get some power. And the way that your setting is set up is that belonging and significance is there. So I'm always looking, that's our foundational need is belonging and significance. And then with that power and choice. And so that's amazing. And what I want to share for everybody listening is this is what Kristen's school looks like. And that's what's so amazing about, you know, forest schools, nature schools, prairie schools. Hello, it can be any kind of school and it can look like, or program, and it can look like anything you want. If you have it in your heart for it to be a certain way, that's what it can be like. And children will thrive. And so thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And I bet you get comments from parents that when they miss a day, that their kiddos show up in a very different way. They didn't get a chance to shed that. Do you get those comments?
We do. We kind of have our timing set up a little bit differently just because so many people are so busy
Mm-hmm.
throughout the year. There's lots of extracurricular. We're very much a hockey, baseball,
Mm-hmm.
soccer town, and so there's just not a lot of time. And so we found that we were competing for
Mm-hmm.
spots, and it's like, okay. We don't want to do that, and we don't want people to not come to us because they would rather go to soccer or they think that that's important, like for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So what we did was we actually shortened our sessions up, and so we run sessions in 9-hour installments. So it might be 3 Saturdays in the spring. And
Okay.
so that's one session. And then there's another session that starts right after that. And so often what we have is we have parents book a number of sessions in a row. But what it does is that if they can't do this one, and this one because they're in hockey or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they can still participate and not have to go without. So we found that that's something that works really well for us. And then in the
Okay.
summer, when then we do the full days. And
Okay.
so it looks a little different then.
Are interesting. So it's during the school year, it's more on the weekends than after school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, it can look like anything that needs to be there.
Oh,
Oh, very, very, very cool. Um, okay, so for the next question, number two, what challenge have you overcome or behavioral shift have you had to kind of go through that has helped shape your journey?
well, when I first read this question, I mean, I have lots going through my brain all the
Yeah.
time. So I have to narrow it down. But for me personally, I mean, I'm science trained.
Mm,
I have a degree in biology. I taught biology and chemistry for years. That's kind of my jam. And in the sciences, traditionally, it is very regimented.
mm,
And so it's scaffolded and it's regimented, and kids need to know this, and it's often very direct teaching. And I did that for a number of years and then realized that I didn't like it. I mean, I like the experiential learning
mm,
a great deal. And so then I would make a whole bunch of experiential learning and labs and activities and things, and the kids loved those. But I found that I was always teaching to a curriculum, and I mean, in public school, you have to meet that. How you meet it is up to you. But I found that when I first learned about forest school, and I was watching the shift, and it's 180-degree opposite to what I was doing. And
wow.
I really struggled with the idea of taking kids outside and not having directions, like not having, I didn't know what would actually happen. And I was almost to the point where I was terrified to take them outside with no formal instructions because you just have been kind of convinced that if you take the walls away, the kids are just going to run away. And it's like, I was so wrong. And I wish that I wish that I would have done it much earlier in my career because kids don't run away. In fact, they're more engaged and they're more focused and they're more around you out there than they ever were in a
Mhm.
classroom. And I thought I was a pretty decent teacher in a classroom, but it's like, man, when we go outside, this is crazy. Like they're all there. I didn't have any attendance issues. I had kids, I mean, even the bad kids were right there. They loved it. They thought this was the best thing ever. And it's like, okay. Um, so that was a huge shift for me. And now that I teach science during the day and then I go and do this I mean, it's still a 180-degree
Yeah.
flip. But for me, it's almost like I can do this during the day, and this is my reward. I'm almost like the kids that come out. Like it sheds off me too, I'm sure, because yeah, I mean, you just feel better.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I would add to that is there is the perception that bad students, and I'm going to lump them all in the category because they're
Hmm.
actually my favorite group of kiddos, the
Hmm.
ones that are, you know, not maybe the mainstream good students, the one that have some little spicy.
Hmm.
Those are my favorite group of kids to work with because when you do things like this, and when I took them outside, and they were the ones that were the most engaged
Yeah.
all the time. The 95 plus just wanted to sit in a desk and do their
Yes.
work and get an A plus. But the kids who were not motivated by that were motivated by something different, and the outdoors turned them right into it. Like they were locked in. And I think there was a bit of I had to do a bit of a shift in my head that I had been told that this group was unteachable.
Mm.
And it's like they're not, though. They just needed a different spin. And then they were successful.
Is it that they needed a perceived less environmental control, and then they were able to like, oh, I can control myself here. I don't have to fight it because it's kind of given to me. I wonder. Um, you know, yeah, I so this for me this comes back maybe to the theme of trust. And you had to develop that trust in yourself, like, oh my gosh, I take the walls away and what's going to happen? So,
Yeah,
the circle of trust where when we can learn to trust ourselves and trust the kids, they learn to trust themselves and then trust us. And then it's
right.
this beautiful circle. So, no, thank you for sharing that. And that would be quite the whiplash that you have to go back to often. But do you find that kiddos from your regular setting come into your forest or your prairie school on the weekends too? Or are they not the ones that really sign up for that? Or are they?
Uh, Not really. We don't have like when we started, we definitely started with
Yeah.
the really young kids. And then realized that there were lots of opportunities for older kids. So now we're doing some we find that the older students are looking for almost like certification, like they want something
Hmm.
at the end of it. So I'm a Red Cross first aid instructor as well. And so we are going to like the remote first aid, we're turning it into a survival weekend
Oh, cool.
but I mean, it becomes a little more like school then because you have certain things that you have to,
Yeah.
you have to get to,
Yeah.
but it's in an outdoor setting and we can add some things in and modify it accordingly. So, um, yeah, it's good.
I
And
think,
we teach adults as well. So
yeah,
that's
just just taking the walls away and allowing access to nature is so profound in that element alone. Um, would you agree? And then even if there has to be some structure, it's just it's received differently than within four walls. It's even more structure within more structure within more structure. And so
it.
yeah.
I think that and I've had the opportunity to watch lots of people teach in a public setting, and it's the person at the front of the room who's giving direction. And that kind of changes when you go out. I mean, I've never had to know my material better than when I was outside because you never know what is going to come up and what you're going to teach to.
Interesting.
If somebody asks you a question, you're on. I mean, you need to know the answer or you don't. I mean, it's one of those things. But if you've got a group of some spicy kids and they ask you something and you don't know, or, they notice. But in a
Okay.
classroom, it's just the expectation of sit down, be quiet, don't ask me, I'll tell you tomorrow. And that doesn't really work outside.
Yeah, that's really
So,
interesting. I haven't heard that one before. I guess I don't want that to intimidate anybody. I wonder if I don't know, shifting it to, well, I don't know, empowering them to come up with the answer. That's what I feel like I would do if I'm like, oh gosh, either take him, admit that I don't know that, or like, I don't know, what do you think? You
yeah,
saw the flower and the thing, or what, however it, whatever we're studying. How do you, yeah, empower them if you don't know? How do you keep them engaged and trusting you?
right. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I think like when I used to take my high school students out, they were still looking at me as, okay, you're the expert, so you should be able to tell me that.
Yeah.
But in forest school, I think that's different. And I agree with you. So that when we find something, it's like, I'm not sure what that is. So then you go to your guidebooks or you go to your, like if you don't know the answer, it's way easier to
Yeah.
pass that off in a forest school setting because it's cooperative.
And they're touching and they're immersed in
Yeah.
the material versus it just being a paper on the desk,
Yeah.
maybe. Or yeah. Wow, very cool. I haven't had a conversation like this quite yet. So thank you. That's really,
Oh,
really
good.
cool. Um, do you have, well, yeah, okay, we'll go to question number three. Um, what nugget of wisdom or recommendation can you give us, our audience here listening, that you wish you would have known earlier in your journey that would have just kind of eliminated some bumps along the way? That yeah, what are some of those or one of those?
Oh, um, I think, hmm, I mean, when I was in the public school system, and I was very sort of increasingly unhappy with how things were moving in terms of experiential learning and I had always thought I have this space, I have this beautiful space. I should just do it. I should just do it. I should do it. And then that little voice says, you're
Mm-hmm.
crazy. You have a pension. You have all these benefits. You have a secure job. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't, what if people don't come? What if people think you're ridiculous? And it's like I'm sure there were people that did think I was ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure there are people that still think I'm ridiculous. It doesn't matter. I wish that I would have jumped earlier. I wish I would have. Because I've got 2 years left of teaching, well, 2.5, and then I can do this full time. Um, I am so glad that I did it when I did, but looking at what we've created in a very short amount of time, I wish I would have done it 15 years earlier. But yeah.
So is the recommendation just do it? That's what I wrote down. Just do it.
Well, I think just trust yourself. I mean, if you see that there's if you see that there's an area where you know that you have an idea and you think it's going to work and you've done some training and you've watched something like this and you've connected to maybe a few people that are doing some different things and nobody is doing the same thing. I'm just do it and make it your own and figure out what works in your community and what you like to do. And I mean, just because I'm a science person and that has shaped how I do things, it doesn't mean that you couldn't be a drama and fine arts teacher and go that direction. I mean, I have a friend of mine in Saskatchewan that is doing nature journaling and she's amazing. It's all painting and watercolor and noticing nature, and she has a completely different spin than I do.
Yeah.
And so both of us are just living the dream. Well, I mean, yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing what we love. And by looking at all these other people, you pick up tidbits and you add them into your program. Or, I mean, you have to be flexible
Hmm.
to do that, but
Yeah.
that's part of it. And it's just awesome.
And you can start slow and gentle. Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 conversations that I have, the theme is just do it. If you feel it here in your heart, you've got enough, just go for it and learn as you go. Your people will find you, you will find your people. And like you said too, find your guides that can help you along the way so that, you don't do it completely alone. But if you do it alone, you learn and you're going to grow, and that's okay too. So, um, I love that. Very, very cool. Okay. Lastly, for our audience here, whether it's founders or educators or parents, what is your wish for them to take away? The number one, what do you wish their number one takeaway would be?
From our program or from this kind of facet of education or like
Yeah,
what?
from anything, our conversation here today, or everything that you're doing, nature-based education. What do you wish people really, really knew?
I think I think that people, and I'm just speaking for myself here,
Yeah.
but anytime when I was in the public system and I took kids outside and they were having a great time and laughing and enjoying themselves, I think there was a mistaken almost identity of if you're having fun, you're not actually learning.
Oof.
Like you're just having fun. And come on, Kristen, you're teaching high school. Like you need to get these guys ready for university. I mean, I don't know how many times I heard that.
Wow.
And in a way, they're right. But the more that I know about this, and my own kids are now in university, and I'm looking at the rigor and the stress and the anxiety and the expectation and everything that comes with where they are now. And I'm thinking there is no better way to prepare young people than to develop what they call soft skills, and I don't think they're soft at all. Like the grit, the resilience, the independence, the ability to regulate your mental health, like all of those things that are such huge, impactful issues in our society, we can work on by taking kids outside. Like it is just such it doesn't require money, it just requires time and a person to take them out. And all those other things just fall into place. And so I wish that more people knew that that little action of taking a little person outside and just letting them do their thing will impact them for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And yeah, soft skills are not soft. I call them
oh
that too so that I can say they're not soft. They are the core.
no.
Um, and like you indicated also, it's hard to develop those sitting in a desk, being told what to do, how to do it. But when you're more free outside, then there's opportunities to practice those with each other, see what
Yeah,
works, see what doesn't. um yeah. And the other thing you said, if you're, if they're laughing, are they learning? Like that is, oh my god,
archaic.
that hits the soul. um I always say, like, you can take play or joy out of learn sorry, you play and joy can never be separated. Or sorry, oh, I am messing this up. I didn't, yeah, play
I
and
know what you
learning can
mean.
never be separated.
Yeah.
Joy keeps popping in here and it's messing me up. But yeah, play and learning can never be separated. Learning and academics can be separated if the child or person isn't able to receive. Play can be put in academics, which is great that they're learning. So yeah, that goes right to what you said. Yes, everybody, if they're laughing, they are learning. They're learning something. And if they've got, yeah, students around them and a guide guiding them, like that's the full picture. And that's incredible. Wow.
The, last year we were talking about stories
Uh-huh.
just before we started. And last year we had a group of kids. We call it our Kids in the Coulee program, and it's ages 6 and 7.
Uh-huh.
So they're usually just the feistiest bunch of
Mhm.
little humans ever. And so we had a we had a group of, I think there was about 8, and one of them had come as part of the Girl Guides experience a couple months before, and she had made a stick man.
Mhm.
I'd helped her make this stick man out of branches, and she was just so excited about it. And when she came for Kids in the Coulee, she brought her stick man and had asked if I could make a stick woman to be a wife. And so I thought that was pretty funny. So we're making this stick woman. And what happened over about 2 hours was we went from stick man, stick woman, they love each other. There all of a sudden is a wedding that is being planned. And this little group of 8
Mm.
planned this whole wedding. And
Uh-huh.
another staff member and I sat in the back and just watched because they had a full menu coming out of our mud kitchen. They had written the vows were written on a little paper. They had decorated, and I just sometimes I think if the adults just got out of the way, like little people are just the most amazing little creatures ever. And they're so smart and they're so creative. And if we would have stepped in anywhere and said, well, why don't you do this? It would have
Mhm.
wrecked it. And instead, we just sat back and we took a lot of pictures because we actually couldn't believe what was happening. And then later, we were talking about to some other educators. They said, well, but that's all play, but did they learn anything? And I said, well, like they were writing, they were
Mhm.
reading, they were speaking, they were cooperating, they were finding flowers to decorate and making sure, like, we got into leave no trace because we didn't want them to take too many of one kind of flower. And like all of the things that were tied up in those 2 or 3 hours of play was all learning. Like it was just, and so you start to dissect it and show people where the learning is.
Oh my
And it's
God.
like it was play, but there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And they were having so much fun. Like it was just ridiculous.
Two
But
things that, I mean, we could probably spend the next hour talking about all the benefits, and it would probably go into the
oh,
hundreds of this two
yeah.
hour. But that's something that we get a lot in conversations around is the lack of focus that kids have these days, right? And
Mhm.
right here, when we give them the time and space to indulge in their curiosities and let that unfold as they go, 2 to 3 hours focus.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I in my whole journey, I worked at a center, and it was every 15 minutes we were moving those kids. And I was young. I thought that was the normal way for it to be done. And I'm grateful for that experience because I can contrast the two. It's like,
Mhm.
no wonder
Yeah.
we're setting these kids up for not being able to focus in certain ways. But when we allow it, this is incredible. Um, wow. And then the other word that I wrote down, negotiating, like them having ideas and having to relinquish those ideas and accept others' ideas and then fight for their ideas. Like, wow. And I shouldn't say fight, but really convince, like it's all there. The writing, the reading, like you said. So um amazing. I wish I
Well,
could have been there. I mean,
oh.
imagining it is the highlight of my day so far. But wow.
I mean, we would never be able to replicate that exact same experience because the next group of kids would come in and they don't have there's nothing invested in that. But I mean, I was thinking I have colleagues who are senior English teachers, and the amount of stress that comes with making a speech in front of people. I mean, we've got lots of kids that won't do it. They just won't do it. And that's in a high school setting. And you think, how many, eulogies and things are these people going to have to do in their adult lives? But they've taken this public speaking and made it into such a stressful experience. And here are these little 6 and 7 year olds that are standing up reading vows. And
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just, and they were singing, and oh my gosh, they had the whole thing going on, and it was awesome. Yeah, it's very cool.
That, you know, thank you so much for sharing that. I was waiting for an opportunity to ask you about a story if it kind of didn't unfold naturally, and there it
Oh,
is. So, yeah, grinning ear to ear. I hope
yeah.
everyone listening can like feel the value of giving kiddos time and space in nature, whatever that nature looks like, wherever you are. It's cannot be underestimated. And just trust yourself and trust them. Um, okay. This was so, so, so fun. Anything else you would like to add before I invite you to share how people can get a hold of you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're obviously riding a wave. Like I can feel it since
Yeah.
we started, and I think there were only 2 or 3 of us in the province that were doing things like this to now, and there's a lot more. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot more knowledge and a lot more education and a lot more awareness, I guess. And so that feels to me really exciting. I
Mhm.
mean, to hear that people want to try things and they want to learn things so much that this season we're actually doing educator series. It's like, okay, so there's lots of people that want to try things in their classroom, but they really aren't sure what works and what doesn't. And so
Yeah.
we'll come and hang out and help you out if we can. I mean, we're not experts by any
No.
means. We're always learning ourselves, but we have done it for a while and maybe have some tips and tricks, and everybody likes tips and tricks. Sometimes they're useful. So I think just we're going back to it, just do it. Like just
Just do
go. Find the thing you're passionate about.
it.
And
Mhm.
kids are, we've talked about this lots too. I mean, I'm a guaranteed nerd. I love certain things, and I am not shy about talking about my passions. And little kids love passionate people. Like they
Mm.
love to find you and tell me about this and tell me about this. And so, like I said, if you're not a science person, that's fine. If
Mhm.
you're an art person, great. Play your skills. What have you got? I mean, maybe you're like a drama person, or maybe you're a great storyteller, or I don't know. Little kids will go with you however you take them.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, on that note too, if you have a specific gift to offer, wonderful, that can frame your whole program. But if you just want to
mhm.
take kids out in nature and let it be just a free wandering, that's there's so much value there too. Um, yeah, incredible. So, Kristen, how can people, oh, one quick question before we jump into that. When you said that you're going to be supporting schools,
Mhm.
are you going into the schools and supporting teachers who want to understand and be get more confident in getting their kids outside? Okay, amazing.
Well, a couple things.
Okay.
Like we've been asked a few times to just sit down with staff, or do some PD with staff members, and so that works really well. That kind of we always set it up as kind of a forest school where we
Mhm.
bring staff out and let them play, and it's the same thing happens when you bring adults out. I mean, it takes a while longer to get
Uh-huh.
them to actually, okay, you're not, nobody's
To
nobody's
shed.
keeping track of what you're doing, just let it out.
Yep.
You can so we've done that. We've also done programs for like Girl Guides and Scouts, and we work with we do what's called a Women's Outdoor Weekend with Sask Wildlife, and we go and do sort of a survival weekend with them 3 times a year. And so we kind of modify our program for who we're like what we're doing. And so the
Okay.
forest school is obviously kind of our base
Yeah.
programming, but if we were to go into schools, recognizing that there's lots of classes that maybe can't get off site. And I mean, let's face it, our school grounds are not what I would call a natural setting. They're, your
Mhm.
square of grass with a blue imp playground. And that's not, I mean, it works in a pinch,
Yeah.
but it's not quite what we're headed towards. And
Mhm.
so to be able to bring our antler collection into a classroom and let kids touch it and play with it and learn about it is kind of sort of where we're headed next, to be able to do that kind of almost like outreach.
Yeah,
But yeah.
very, very, very cool. All right, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, we're on all the socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Sage Creek Prairie School. And then we also have a website, and an email, sagecreekprairieschool@gmail.com. So
Okay.
yeah, if people want to drop us a line or give us connect with us on online, that would be good too. And like we're always interested to sit down with people.
Mhm,
We've done lots of visiting back and forth with other programs, and it's fun for us. I mean, we're always changing
mhm.
and adapting to what we do. And if we find a really good idea somewhere, we have no problem with saying,
Yep.
yeah, switch it up.
Saying
Let's do
yes.
something. Let's try and do it.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Very, very cool. Everybody, so if yeah, all the listeners go to her page, Sage Creek Prairie School, not Forest School. And leave comments and love and like and follow. It helps, spread her reach and there is a wave happening. And so if you're interested in starting one, I'm actually putting together a program called Choose Your Guide, and schools, because they're all so different. And so whether they're Montessori or, Waldorf or Reggio Emilio or Emilia, whatever the kind of vibe is that people might be interested in, they can connect with that guide, and that person will help them develop their own program so that they have immediate connection and a template. And so we're getting these schools going quicker, and giving people the support they need. So yeah, thank you. And if I support schools in the behavior realm. I'm a foster mom. I'm certified in all kinds of behavior modalities. And so I help the team, the nature based school team, get everyone on the same page, all their staff, the parents. Everyone's using the same approach. They're understanding behavior. There's unity in approaching the kiddos. Making sure that we see that behavior as communication, help them meet their needs, and making sure those schools look like what they were designed to be in the first place, at least feel like it. Because
Mhm.
when there's a mismatch in understanding behavior and approaching behavior, then that's where the overwhelm and the burnout and the
Yeah.
terminations come from. So we can avoid those. Okay. Thank you, Kristen, so much for being
Thank
here. I
you.
appreciate you and all the work you're doing. And with that, I'll have all the links in the notes below in the description, and we'll say bye.
Amazing.
I if
Yeah.
well, hold on, one more thing. If you are listening and you want to be featured, just let me know, and we will get your story featured and your school featured so that people could reach out to you. My goal here is to share whatever all these beautiful founders, their generosity, um, everything that they're doing, so that more schools can pop up, so that more children and adults are able to serve and be served in this really beautiful way. So, with that, thank you. We'll wave bye, and
Okay.
yeah, goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.